You know something? Facial expressions are so doggone revealing. You see people hitting forehands all the time. They look so great. They're like this every time. Then all of a sudden someone hits them in the back and they go, oh, God, it's a backhand. And you know that you're not going to play well if you have that kind of fear. But most people would say, I don't have any fear. That's because in the warm-up, man, you run around all the backhands and hit forehands, so you look good all the time. But you can't keep doing that because somebody's going to run you wide and finally hit it to your backhand. You can't say to somebody, look, if you promise only to hit to my forehand, I will make you look good. But you can't do that. And then you can also say to Helen, look, Helen, don't hit anything to my backhand. I don't hit backhands until after lunch. You can't do that. You see, it is true that the strokes are identical, and that's the tack we're going to take. In this whole lesson, what we want you to understand is the backhand and forehand look the same. Now watch on the forehand side. You have a little backswing, a little loop, but then you get the racket down. Now you go forward and low to high as you're moving forward. The backhand has a little backswing on it, and then it gets down to this point, and the forward movement is all low to high. Everything's exactly the same. Now, take a look at this split screen that we have, and if you'll watch that the forehand and backhand are exactly the same. When you see the forehand taking a swing, the racket goes back and then down together, forward and up together. The backhand makes an identical movement. The backhand goes back, down, three-point landing, the butt and the foot down, and then they go forward and upward together. Everything's the same. Backswing, three-point landing, and forward and upward, and the follow-through. Well, then people say, well, okay, if they're just alike, are you telling me that there are no differences? Yeah, there's some differences, and a couple of them are, one relates to strength. And the fact is that you need stronger extensor muscles. And if you can get those extensor muscles strong, you can keep the racket head still. But if you don't have them, you go like this. But if you have strong extensors, you can do this. Keep the racket head firm all the way through. But the other one is relative to the hitting point. The hitting point on the backhand, when you're hitting a ball on the backhand side, you hit it here. But on the forehand side, you only hit even with your front side. On the forehand, you hit even with the front side, and on the backhand, you hit further out in front. Let me get rid of one of these balls for a second and just show you again. This hand is my forehand, this hand is my backhand. Now watch. Boom, I hit a forehand right here and a backhand here. And you can see that it's about a shoulder's width out in front of you. Well, the problem is most people time the backhand and forehand the same. A ball is coming to them, and so as a result, they hit the forehand, say, even with the front side like this, and they time it just for this hit. Now, in the backhand, they have to hit further out, but they time it for the front side of their body. I'm going in this direction. And now, they're late. So what you have to get fixed in your mind is that you're going to start your swing sooner on the backhand, hit it way out. And I had someone say to me once, yeah, but what do you do if you're always late? And gee, the answer is pretty simple. You try to be too early. But most people can't because you have a tendency to always time it to make sure you're late, because that's what you're comfortable doing. So you go, this time, I'm really going to do it. And you go, and you're late again. So we would like you to try to swing too early. That's the cure for that. Now, Borg has a different kind of problem. Borg has a problem of he can be late on anything. Take a look at this, for example. When you hit a forehand, because the shoulder house and your hitting arm is on the backside, you can be late and still hit a pretty good shot, and you can hit good topspin. But on the backhand side, if you're late going that way, you cannot topspin. So you cannot be late on a backhand and hit a topspin. So you'll have to underspin. But on the forehand, you can be late and do it. People say, I see Borg hit the backhand late all the time, and he's still terrific. Well, that's true, but he really has two forehands in a way. Watch. He hits a forehand like this, and then he comes to hit a backhand, but he's a two-handed backhand, which is exactly the same stroke, but you notice that he can use his left hand just like he's hitting a left-handed forehand. So he can hit late and bring it up. But if he had one hand, he could not hit it here. He would have to hit it out here. And that's one of the advantages of having a two-handed backhand. People say, well, then look, you're giving me some pretty great stuff, man. Why doesn't everybody have a two-handed backhand? And the answer is because everyone doesn't have a supple upper body. See, a lot of people play two hands pretty well, but you need a supple upper body because this upper body is the thing that really makes that backhand kick. But most people don't have a supple upper body. You don't see the two-handers in the world who play like this. You know, if you got a supple upper body, then that's fine. But if you don't have it, then I suggest you go to one hand, because one hand, when the body stops, the hand can go out fast. But you really rely with two-handed backhand upon a supple upper body. If you're a little bit ambidextrous, then try it. But the stroke patterns are the same. And the timing differences, when you hit a one-hander out here, but when you hit a two-hander, it's hitting in the same place as the forehand. Hit a two-hander, hit it even with the front side. Hit a one-hander, hit it further out. All right. Now, the advantage, by the way, if you hit two forehands like Borg does, really, in a way, it's two forehands, you don't have to bend as much. It's true. When Borg hits the ball, he doesn't have to bend as much because look at this. I'm going this way now. When you hit a forehand, the racket face has to be vertical, and as a result, on the forehand, you don't have to bend so much because it lays out there. The racket's vertical in a very easy manner. But on the backhand, when I'm going this way, if you don't bend, now the racket has a tendency to scoop. And so people start adding this when they let it drop. Wrist forward, elbow leading. And it's not very, very effective. All right, let's start from the beginning. All right, the ready position. You got to get to the ball some way. Now, people say, well, what's the best way? Well, on the backhand side or the forehand side, you're always starting from the same position because you don't know which way the guy is going to go. So now you're waiting for the person to serve to you. The left hand is cradling the racket at the throat. You're a very comfortable position. But you know, your eyes get tricked when you go to watch the top matches. When you go out to watch the pros, you see the pro get like this, Borg's like this, and going, yeah. You watch him do this, and people say, that's it, that's my problem. No wonder I've been coming in second in a field of two. I don't have this, right? But that's not your problem. Now, your problem is if you'll watch Borg carefully, just as the server gets ready to serve, he's not doing this, he does this. You've got to be able to come up because a little higher center of gravity will give you a better start when you're moving laterally. So if you're moving to the right or to the left, then don't be afraid to come up. If you're only going to go forward, then a lower center of gravity or a lower position would be good. But people see Borg do this, they say, hey, look, I want to be better than Borg, man. I want to live in Monte Carlo. So they say, well, if he gets this way, I'm getting this way. I will be better than him, right? But to be successful this way, your opponent has to serve under the net. You don't want to be low, you want to be up. So do what the pros do. Just as they get ready to hit, come on up and relax, that's all. Look, you're walking to the line to receive serve, that's it. Why do you need all this? The problem is you need strokes. You know, you don't need to make an initial impression. You need strokes. Now we get into the grip. Remember last week on the show, we talked about forehand Eastern grip. The face of the racket and the palm being in exactly the same position for the racket face and the palm. But now we're going to take the backhand and put a different grip on this baby. We're going from here 90 degrees up to the top, like this. And if you'll take a look at this palm, the palm is on top of the racket, fingers going out this way, and the thumb is at a diagonal, not straight up. If you put the thumb straight up on this grip like this, it'll require another elbow and wrist leading in order to have the racket face vertical. But we would like you to put the palm up on top, spread the index finger, now clutch it. But here's an interesting point. If you check your racket, you will see that the racket face and the ring finger on your right hand, and if you're left-handed, one hand, it's the same thing, that this space right here relates to this racket face. Now, all you have to do is to keep these knuckles going towards your intended target. And as long as I'm going towards that intended target with this knuckle, so is the racket face going in that direction. As a matter of fact, it's about 17 inches away. If I'm aiming right out for this particular spot right there, I know the ball's going to land 17 inches on that side. So all you have to do is keep the knuckles going out towards the target. And people say, yeah, but that's kind of a little tip. Give me a big multi-million-dollar tip. That's what I want, man. Now let's talk about grip. People say, hey, wait a minute, coach. I saw that. You slipped it over on me pretty quickly, man. 90-degree change. But let me tell you something. People tell me all the time there is not sufficient time to make the grip change. I have heard it all my life, too. I'm sure you have. If you want to use a one-grip game, which is halfway between the Eastern forehand and Eastern backhand, which is a continental grip, palm on this second ridge. Here's 3, here's 2, here's 1. Palm is on 2. Now, that's a continental, and people say, I like this grip, man, because now I don't have to change anything. Problem is, on the forehand, it requires a wrist roll. Remember, the ball's on the strings, only 4 milliseconds. Very difficult to make the judgment. On the backhand side, the racket head faces up again with this grip, and so you'll have to push it out. Now, remember, we want the racket face to be vertical at impact. Well, if you go like this and you can roll that racket and make it hit that ball, time it for 4 milliseconds, we don't really care. But let's go through this. I'll show you some rationale. If I hold a regular forehand grip, and now I hit the forehand, I hit it even with my front side. Now remember, on the backhand, I'm going this way. Now I have to hit the ball further out in front of me. Well, if I keep this Eastern forehand grip, watch what happens. To have the racket vertical, which we need on the hit, and hit an elbow span out in front of me, about that far out, here's what I need in wrist position and elbow position for a perfect hit. Now look, when I take it out of my hand. all right? Now, people say, well, no one hits the ball like that. And I'm telling you, one of the greatest players in the history of the game, John Newcomb, holds an Eastern forehand grip, and for the backhand, he holds this grip. And the kid seems to have a pretty fair future. So I'm saying to you that you can do it, but you're not as strong as John Newcomb. John Newcomb can do that and have his wrist out and elbow lead, and he's built up those muscles, and he can get away with it. You're more vulnerable to injury when the wrist and elbow lead. Now, if you hold a continental grip, watch that one. That one will require a pretty good wrist movement to make that racket head go straight up and down. And remember, 1 degree is 6 feet of length. Now, if you hit the ball like this with continental and you don't make this change, this ball will not land before you leave. I guarantee you, you'll see that you've got to make that head go way up. Well, if you hold a full change, full 90 degree, even that one has a slight bevel. You see this one? And even that one requires a little bit of a pushback with that wrist and elbow. Now, when we ask people, tell us when you think the racket is right. Stop at the hitting point and tell us. And nearly everyone stops with a racket like this. Now, we say, keep your eyes closed, and then we'll put the racket up straight for them. We say, tell us how this feels. And they'll always say, that really feels crummy. And we say, look, remember that crummy feeling. You have paid hundreds to get that, and it's going to make you famous. Now, so you want to feel crummy if it's right, but a lot of people really feel terrific. Unfortunately, the ball is going up all the time. We would rather you feel crummy and be good. Now, here's the problem with the grip change. People say there's not sufficient time. Wrong. We've done all kinds of studies to show you that actually you can change grips before you can get almost any shot in the game. But there are some complications, so you have to find out for yourself whether I'm putting you into the right mold. So take your best shots at me. Take a look at this. I suggested you change a quarter turn. And most of the top pros will even say, if you had time, it would be best to make the change. But even some of the top pros say you don't have time. So let's take a look. I go from here to here. That's a 90-degree turn. Well, if I put this hand down a little bit, which is about an 1/8 turn, this hand about an 1/8 turn, 2/8 make a quarter. So all you're doing when you change a grip is taking each palm and going, ting, ting. Now watch as I get closer, you'll see. That's all I'm doing, ting. Now, do this. Try it at home, because you don't want to try it in public, because people will laugh at you and think you're on the sauce. I mean, it's a terrible kind of thing. But I'm going to try to make my foot take a faster first step than my hand. Now I'm going to go like this. I'll hold my grip, and then I'm going to go, hey, and see whether or not, now you see, the palm's on the top. Now watch, hey. But you see, the fact is, your hands will always beat your feet. Now, the real valid argument that we found in our research project is that some people cannot perform 2 separate tasks simultaneously, right? All right, so here's what we found. Some people have to go switch, step, or they go step, switch. Now, those are the people who go back to the fence to get their ball. If you'll go out and just spend 5 minutes a day, 5 days a week, you will get the doggone grip change so fast, even on volleys. People say, wait a minute, what if a guy's got an overhead smash right in front of me? You think I got time to change? What grip should I hold? I say, go for this one, man. The guy's going to kill you. So, just get out of there. If you got a ball stuck in your mouth, but you have a continental, what good does it do you? See, I'm just saying, get out of there. All right. Now, what we want to do is to get you in a frame of mind that this is a very objective sport. The ball goes absolutely where you aim it. If the ball goes over the fence, it's because you've aimed it there. So if the racket is tilted like this, the ball usually is going up. So don't change the fact that you're going to lift the ball. What you want to do is change the fact that the racket needs to be straight up and down. So learn to go low to high, but if the ball's going up, it's only because you have the bottom under. You all need immediate feedback. But people get feedback all the time. The direction of the ball tells you exactly what's happening to your racket. But most people won't listen. That's, you know, they blame it on the equipment. They go, geez. You know, well, it's not the equipment. Again, it's you. It's the thing that's hanging onto the grip. So what we want you to do is take a good lesson, get immediate feedback, whatever it is. All right, now we say to you, you've got to keep the racket out away from your body and got to keep that racket head still, but that's hard to do sometimes because these extensor muscles aren't very strong for most people. So you got to build them up. Now, some people will go out and squeeze tennis balls. But some squeeze balls in such a way that they only become good ball squeezers. No, it's very important. It is true that fingers are important, but you need those extensors. So make sure you're holding that arm out there and watch when you're squeezing and see if those muscles are really working. You want the flexors and the extensors to be making a little move on you there. You'll need that to hold the racket still. Now what we see for most people is as they get ready to hit, they let this racket head fall, and now the racket goes underneath. You've got to hold that thing steady. And when you're hitting a ball, it's very hard to keep it steady when this thing isn't strong. Francoise Dewar, I mean, she hits, if you've seen Frankie hit the ball, I mean, she holds her finger up like this. She is sensational. But remember, I wouldn't try what she tries. She hits like this. But she can choke a bull with 2 fingers, too. I mean, most people can't do that. See, most people hit like this, they would go looking for their hand. We used to have a little water cooler here where we had the little cups. And we had to get rid of those on the backhand lessons because people would come in after a backhand lesson, their extensors weren't strong, and after hitting 1,000 or so shots, their arms like this, they could never get the water up to their mouth. I mean, people were throwing water over the thing and then to their blouse. You know, we use drinking fountains because people can make the water spout hit their mouth. The head doesn't shake as much as the extensors. So we would like you to get out there and build up those extensors. It's very important. Now, when the ball bounces, now we're getting ready to demo these things and put it into effect. When the ball bounces, you have to be ready to go forward. Once a ball bounces, you've already said it's a backhand, so you know the ball before it even reaches the net is coming and the racket's back. Now, when the ball bounces, 3 things should happen simultaneously. The racket goes down, butt goes down, and foot goes out. 3 things. Now remember, as you're dropping, the foot goes out because you want to have it here ready to step forward and get the balance point over this foot. And as a matter of fact, when you finish, if you could finish with your shoulder out ahead of this foot, it would be very good for you. But most people finish with the shoulder over this foot. Now I'm going to show you later that's almost catastrophic for you. All right, the ball is bounced. Racket goes down, butt down, foot out. Now you just come right back up. All right, watch this. Make the little loop. Ball bounces, down, out. And you finish high like this. Let me have a couple balls here for a second. All right, we've given you a lot of theory. Now we got to put it into practice. The racket's back, racket and butt down and foot out, and now you come out and up. And notice where I finish on this follow-through. But the #1 error in tennis, as far as I'm concerned, is not getting the racket lower than the intended point of impact with the ball. If you hit with one hand, you bring the racket down to this point, left hand touches the thigh. As a matter of fact, to make sure you touch the thigh, I always wanted to invent this little gadget. And you put it on your thigh and the thing talks to you. If you hit it and click it, it rewards you. And it goes, "You are the greatest." And now you can make the hit. But see, most people don't get it down to here. Most people are here. As a matter of fact, we'll say to people, because the backhand tricks you. You see, when you're hitting a backhand, this upper arm is down. And so you think your racket's down. But actually, the lower arm is pointed up. And so we'll say to people, tell us when your racket's against your thigh. And people will go, no. And they're just positive it's down here somewhere, see? But it's not down here, it's up here. So you're going to go back, touch the thigh, and now go forward and up. And watch. If you do this right and you go forward and up, your thighs get a great workout, and you don't have to swing hard. Now remember, when we go back, you want the racket face to be down a little bit. We showed you that on the forehand side, so that it's straight here. So I go back, the racket face is down, but it's straight here. Take a look. And that goes over and down with topspin. If I can have a couple balls there, thank you. Thank you. All right, back, down, and up. Now, if you do let your thighs lift, look at the workout you get. And people say to me all the time, look, man, you know the problem with tennis? I just played 3 sets and gained 2 pounds. And it drives them crazy. But see, if you ever go watch them play, here's how they play. They go. And no wonder you're gaining 2 pounds. Your arm's getting a workout. You talk a lot, you get thin lips. But that's all that's happening to you. See, you've got to make this body move. And you don't want to play with your wrist. You don't want to roll the racket or anything. Now, let me give you a test for that. Watch when I hit this ball and I finish my swing. I'll go down, up, down, and up. And when I finish the swing, I now check it. I let the arm fall to where the elbow's a finger span in front of me. Now, if the racket head is still in perfect position, I know how much I've rolled it during the course of the swing. For example, if I go like this, now I let it drop. Wow. Whatever it takes me to move it back to this position is the amount in reverse that I've rolled it on the swing. So you can all go home and for nothing figure out what's wrong with your follow-through. So you go like this. Now, kids will do this. You know, it's absolutely amazing. Here's what kids will do. They'll go like this, and they go, oh, son of a gun. I had to roll it back this far. That's how much I've rolled it during the swing. Adults cheat. I don't know why. They don't feel like they have a right to be crummy. Adults go like this. They go, yeah, perfect. Don't cheat. Now, another thing that you can do is get immediate feedback. If you finish like this and you know the perfect follow-through, the perfect follow-through is here. So if you know the perfect follow-through, if you take a lousy one, every time assume the perfect follow-through. Watch this. So you go like this, go, oh. And if you do that every time, I'm telling you, you're going to get a good feedback. You'll know what you're doing wrong. So go to the appropriate position. You should have finished the swing. And it'll tell you. It'll give you all the clues you want. Now, power supply. You want to swing inside out, not outside in. Remember, if you swing out this way, if you normally hit the ball here, and now you hit it here, you are 2 times further out. You get 4 times the power. If you normally hit it here, and now you swing out there, you're 3 times further out. You get 9 times the power. So when you swing, don't swing this way. Swing this way. If you're right-handed, swing out towards the left net post. And if you're left-handed, you want to swing out towards the right net post. But the feeling is you're going to hit it over there. But watch. If I have the right position with my wrist, now I swing. It looks like I'm going over there. But see, when I reach the front side of my body, the racket's actually pointed right out towards the net. So don't get the feeling it's going to go over there. To hit it over there, you'd actually have to make a wrist push like this. All right? Now, on this backswing and the drop, it's very important. Your power comes from this drop. And you want to imagine like a water bucket. Just let the racket fall. Watch. And when you get that little water bucket feeling, then you let it come right back up. You know the water bucket thing where you swing the bucket and try to keep the water in the bucket? That's the feeling. Go, and if you can get that feeling, you're going to get the racket down, which is the #1 error in the game, getting it lower than the intended point of impact of the ball, and that's the racket. All right. Body and racket should go up together. Could I have a couple of balls there, please? And I'll show you this one. All right. Now watch carefully. I'm going to swing, and when I go down, notice that they come up together. Now, this is different than most people have heard. A lot of people write me some nasty letters about this. Say, wait a minute, I've been told to stay down. Well, if you stay down and you're successful, we don't care. I mean, you can play any way you want if you're successful. But the fact is, research has shown that when the racket goes up at this angle, if the body could also go up at that angle, you are the most effective. Body and racket at the same angle. That's why you'll see some of the top players off the ground, because when they're going up. But have your foot in contact with the ground when you hit, but it's this lift. And you'll see, if you're lifting properly and you go out and try this and practice it, watch what happens when you get up tomorrow, because you won't. You will roll out of bed onto the floor, and your rear end will be so doggone sore. I'll take a couple more balls and show you this one. All right, watch the head. When you hit the ball, if your head stays down, the stroke stays smooth. But people say, wait a minute, I cannot lift because when I lift, my head throws back. But you don't have to. I don't know where that came from. The research shows us that you can lift easily, be very effective, but you don't have to throw your head. Watch. See, my head's still down. So you don't have to look up. But most people use their head in order to make their legs lift. It's a funny thing about people and their thighs, all right? Now, kinetic chain, we're getting down to the end, so hang on careful. We're going to give you some power supply. The power supply comes from this body moving the same as the forehand, which we told you last week. The forehand is 1, 2, 3, 4. Backhand, when you hit the ball, you're going to turn your body into the ball. The foot must be in contact with the ground. There are 4 segments. 1, foot to the knee to the hip to the head is 3, and this arm and racket 4. And it should go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you don't take too long a swing, it'll work for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you'll hit that ball very hard. The problem is most people get back too far and go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we want you to shorten the swing, get your knees down, and don't be afraid to lift, because you can swing not too hard and hit the ball very, very hard. All right, keep an eye on a guy like Don Budge. When Don Budge, if you ever see any of his old films, Don had a tremendous lift and tremendous power. Legs came up, arm up to the sky. Jack Kramer used to say, all I can remember is Budge lifting his thighs, the arm up like this. And I say, why would he put his arms up like that? And the answer is because if he's going low to high, he can't stop it from going up there. We have 3 initials to help you do that. If you go low to high and finish properly, you'll make a little archway here, and your arm will be up, and the initials are ATA. And that stands for air the armpits. And you will see it will help you an awful lot. Now, we want you not to lean back, because if you lean back when you hit and you're afraid of it, you're going to get yourself in with the racket leaning back like this. And for every degree the shoulder leans back, the racket leans back. So make this change. Change it from here to here. And there are tons of common problems on the backhand, and we're going to show you some of those common problems and the cures that go with those common problems. Watch how this person swings across the body. Remember, you should keep your follow-through going toward your opponent, not towards the side fence. And here's one of the most common problems. Notice how the hitters are too high with their rackets before they start their forward movement. The cure is to have the racket throat touch your thigh before starting the forward and upward swing. And here's a player who drops the racket head. The cure is to drop your knees, not your wrist. Remember the three-point landing? Watch how I lower my racket, drop my body, and step forward at the same time. And you notice the hitters? Many of them are just doing one, then the other, and then the other. They don't have the three-point landing. Remember, your only opponent is a ball. Forget that toad across the net when it's time to hit the ball.